Our first piece of business is any comments from the Board of Education? All right, go ahead.
There's a tree that's leaning precariously on the driveway going up to the school and Morgan's farm. Is there any way that we could accelerate getting that down?
Is it ours, Tom? Gus, we'll have to see from Tom if it's ours. If it's ours, we can remove it. If it's not, we'll have to reach out to West Point.
Okay, it's not ours. It's on West Point property. It's on the other side of the
It's not ours, Frank.
Okay. So I guess we can, maybe I'll reach out to Colonel Morrison tomorrow and see if there's somebody from DPW who can come take care of it.
Okay, yeah, it's not if, but when. I have two other comments. Is the alt handicap ramp in play behind the school now?
It was not approved as an alt yet. Nope.
Oh, okay. And lastly, any word from the state regarding aid?
A whole
We're
Yeah,
gonna
I'm sure Denise
discuss
will
that.
speak about that during her report.
Yeah, a whole bunch of stuff came out today, so we'll get a report on that. And not details, but what should happen.
Okay, that's it for me for now.
Anybody else?
Someone asked me, if the work side of the school, the upper field, and the parking area is on schedule, as well as the work in the school.
Yeah, the work inside the school is scheduled for substantial completion by September 1st. The work outside the school was not scheduled. It was never originally scheduled for substantial completion by September 1st. We're looking at probably early to mid-October for final on the field, and the parking lots will should be ready actually by Labor Day with binder course, and a few weeks after that with the state top coat and then the painting in the lines. But they are on schedule as where we were.
Thank you.
Anything else, Ned? Okay, anybody else?
I just had a question. I didn't see on the agenda a discussion item in regards to our liaisonships. We talked about that at a retreat, talking about it during this meeting. So I don't know if that's planned for tonight, but I just wanted to make a quick question.
Yeah,
About,
I pushed it off to the next meeting because there's just way too much stuff going on right now. So I asked Frank to put that on the next meeting.
Oh, okay.
But go ahead. Go ahead about the.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about NISBA because, Ann, in one of the emails that you had sent, you suggested that the early bird, the lower rate, and soon. I did have a executive committee meeting with OXPA and did have it confirmed that the earlier rate or the lower rate is good through September 13th. So we've got some time to decide on that. And the opening meeting for OXPA is on September 2nd, and Barry Entwistle will be attending that meeting and talking about what the conference is going to look like. So I personally would like to participate in that meeting to get a better sense of what it will look like, how interactive it will be. They're saying that it's still going to be just as powerful and worthwhile, but I would really rather hear a little bit more about it before I decide. Being a delegate, a voting delegate, I would like to reserve the potential right to participate so that I can, have a vote in those resolutions. So that's
Faith,
right.
yeah, thank you. And I know you talked to me about that. Basically, year after year after year, we wait until the deadline and we miss it and we end up paying more. So that's why I said either you're going or you're not going type thing this year because money is so tight. But your meeting is on when? September 1st?
September 2nd.
September 2nd. And when is our next board meeting? The 3rd or the 2nd?
It's the 3rd.
The 3rd. So the decision can be made on the 3rd. I believe Marissa already registered, Frank and I, but we can, you know, if you come back and say, no, don't use the money, then I guess we can, you know, back out and get a refund, I'm sure. But I'm anxious with all the changes that are going on. I want to hear what other districts are doing and running into. So, but let's see
Yeah,
what
I don't
you
know if you
find
looked at
out.
I don't know if you looked at the workshops. There's not a tremendous amount about COVID.
No, I know, but
Um,
I know a lot of it could just be conversations too, and that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah, there are a number of different workshops related to cultural diversity and that kind of thing. So I'm
Yeah.
inclined to want to go. But again, I want to have good information to know that it's worth it.
Mhm. They're putting a heck of a lot of time into it. I had signed up to be
Yeah,
a presider, and they said they have people that are gonna actually run the things, so we don't need presiders this year. Thank you for offering and blah, blah, blah. But it seems to be, to me, there's a lot of information coming out. So if everyone could please do their homework and take a look at that, and then we'll hear what Faith says about really hearing directly from the people and what do they think. Because again, like I said in the email, it's not cheap. We don't want to just throw money away if we don't need to be there.
No. And the nice thing is too, the annual meeting is on Saturday, the 31st, all by itself. Usually when I go to the annual meeting, I have to miss that entire morning worth of sessions, which is frustrating. But that way the annual meeting is by itself, so I wouldn't miss out on any of the educational opportunities.
Mhm.
So that's it.
Thank you. So,
One item, Frank, you had mentioned that Tom had determined that HEPA filters, those enhanced filters for classroom air, would not fit or be compatible with the equipment we have. Would it not be sensible to see if the manufacturer, or that there may be a method where we could obtain ones that would work rather than just dismissing that it can't work?
I don't want to say that it was just dismissed that it can't work. The capacity of our system is to run MERV 8 filters. And what we have done in our classrooms to increase the airflow was we've increased the flow of outside air in through the building management system. Now, my understanding is that the nature of a HEPA filter is that it's a finer filtration system, and Gabe is the engineer in the room. I'll defer to him on a lot of these things, but that to run something that is that constricting to the airflow could cause an earlier burnout and failure of our current systems, and that would render our systems not functional at all. Our hope, I think, right now is that the regulatory relief from the state for use of capital reserve funds for upgrades to HVAC systems for COVID response becomes a reality, and that there is no 5-year look back penalty where you wouldn't have to pay it back over the next 5 years at a 20% rate. But my understanding, and I know there's questions about can we just put portable ones in there, but the issue with that is that it is moving air that is not part of our BMS and is literally moving air, like putting a fan in the middle of a room per se, which causes other issues and potential aerosolization of particles. That's why if a fan is going to be used in a classroom, it should be put in a window blowing fresh air in, as opposed to put on my desk, or blowing on me or on a floor. So those are some of the concerns, Ned, but we are looking into things. I've reached out to Scott and to John Sokol and Mike Altieri at BCA just to see, is there anything we can do in the short term to get more out of our current system? And Gabe, if there's anything I said that's not right, please correct me. I am not an engineer and I don't play one on TV.
How about the ultraviolet component?
Ultraviolet's actually not approved by New York State Education Department. There's questions not only about its efficacy, but about its safety in a school environment.
Thank you, Frank.
okay, and I would like to take a few minutes to thank our amazing administrators, Frank, Andrea, Denise, the principals, the assistant principals, Stefan, all of everybody that's been so instrumental in giving our community such a positive set of information on all the town halls. Rachel, Tom just did an amazing job on the one we had a few minutes ago. It was just, to be able to see the classroom, I can't imagine how that can't put a parent's mind at ease. Tom showing how he used his disinfectant and how it'll be used. So I just think it was, we've gone above and beyond, and I think we've done a fantastic job. So I thank you, because I know none of it is easy. Yep, thank you. It's very hard. All those questions that you answered, they're coming in droves. You answered them. So I thank you. So I believe we're done with that piece. Are we not, Frank?
Well, we're done with the required ones.
We're done with the required ones. Yes,
Yep.
I get it.
So,
Yep, okay.
we had done 2 or 3 prior to being informed that we had to do required ones. And, in speaking with Andrea and speaking with the principals, we know that there's still more information that we want to present. So at the conclusion tonight, I know, Ann, you were watching it. And if you weren't watching it, we did announce the 25th and the 27th. We would do additional ones. Our goal is to be in our buildings. Those are both at 7 p.m. for Mary Jane and anybody else. And we are still taking questions at our dedicated email, reopening@hffmcsd.org. Our FAQ page, it's long. We're working to make it just a little bit easier, so you could click on the heading and it'll go right to the question, as opposed to having to filter down through them. But we do have a boatload of questions there. We're going to continue to add to those questions. We took to incorporating the most recent questions. We had a lot of questions about what the virtual academy might look like, so we incorporated that into the presentation. We had a lot of questions. What does this look like in a classroom, and how will it look? So that's why we had Ms. Adelstein do the presentation today. And we had a lot of questions about, what do you mean these foggers? What does that really look like? That's why we had Tom come in. And I just want to make sure that I state that that demonstration is the only time a fogger will be used with anybody else in a classroom other than the operator, because you don't do that when there's adults or children in the room other than the person who is running it, and they just have to wear a regular face mask. They don't have to wear, and gloves, but they don't have to wear any other respiratory issue or protection. But thank you, and I appreciate that. Again, I'll give a lot of credit to Andrea, a lot of credit to the principals, a lot of credit to Denise and Beth and assistant principals, and certainly Stefan, who's been here every time, making our quality of presentation a little bit better. We know that we're doing it through Google Meets, through then YouTube, but Stefan's been remarkable about making that connection for us and getting everything live. So thank you, Ann.
No, thank you. Thank you. So if there are no other questions from the board, we will go on to you, Frank, please.
Yeah, so I just have a few things. Obviously, everything that we have been working on since before school let out is geared towards getting ready for the beginning of our school year. Our buildings, 2 of them are in amazing shape. It's, everybody knows that's my word. The intermediate school and the elementary school have never looked this good again. The crews there are just doing a wonderful job. The high school is still a work in progress, and we recognize that, but substantial completion by September 1st. There's a cleaning crew that is scheduled to come in starting on Monday, and they will be doing the deep cleaning, and the weekend prior to the 31st, they'll be doing the COVID cleaning to make sure that that'll be throughout the entire building, not just the areas that are new. There'll be a crew coming in to do an extra COVID cleaning prior to the arrival of staff for the 1st. So, we are just busy preparing for the end of the summer and the beginning of the school year. Our welcome back letters went out today to the faculty and staff, and it's just, I can't wait to get a rhythm of school going again, and that was the subject of the letter. In addition, as everybody knows, the district has been spending a lot of effort, energy, and personal resources and time considering issues of anti-racism, of equity and access for our children and for our faculty and staff and our community at large. To that end, the Diversity and Equity Committee met twice over the past last week, to look at just some lessons that we learned from our instruction from March to June, and how we can better serve our children, especially children of minoritized populations or children of color, making sure that we haven't forgotten children. We'll continue that work. That's part of what we'll be doing in addition, and I'll let Andrea talk about our superintendent conference days, but that's some of the work that we're going to continue there. And it is wonderful. We did have 2 new community members who joined us as part of those meetings, and we welcome people to take part. And if anybody wants to join, they can email me at frank.chiboy@hffmcsd.org. A couple of the board members sit on those committees regularly, and I would imagine they would say that they are valuable, and that that's what's going to move our system forward. And as Ann had said, we did do another town hall today. Again, it was a little bit different because we did some demonstrations, and we value the opportunity to do those and present to our community. It's just another layer of our communication system, and maybe this is our, some of our modes for doing this type of town hall. If the DNC can do their convention virtually, then we can continue to push out a message through a virtual means as well. So that's the end of my report, and thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Theodore?
Thank you. Good evening. While we've been busy with getting grants submitted, every year we have to submit a grant for our title grants, titles 1, 2, 3, and 4. And those are due on August 31st. So we'll be meeting the deadline for that. In addition, there were 2 other funding sources that we received this year from state ed. The applications are going in this week, one for replacement of state aid that was lost earlier, and another one for just general response to the situation that we're dealing with right now. So both of those grants are headed in, and the title grants will go in and meet our deadline. We are also busy with planning superintendent's conference days. We have 4 days. That's how we're kicking off our school year. September 1st, Dr. Shiboy, when weather permitting, is hoping to welcome the staff back on the Waldo Wood Field, and we'll be serving prepackaged breakfast foods and coffee from our new concession stand. So we're hoping that the weather cooperates and we can bring our faculty and staff back that way this year. That day will be, I'm sorry?
Which day is that?
That is September 1st.
The 1st.
At 8 a.m. we'll be kicking off, yes. And then the teachers will be revisiting their classrooms for the first time in 6 months and seeing what they look like. I mean, we did a demonstration a few minutes ago about what one of our first grade classrooms look like. So the teachers will definitely be returning to classrooms that look different than the ones that they left in March. We will also be doing training that day on cleaning protocols and different expectations in terms of what it's like to be in our schools. And then Tuesday, we're going to be spending the day exploring some of the new technologies that the district has purchased and providing training for the teachers on those technologies. And then Wednesday and Thursday, we'll start our days having conversations around diversity and equity. And we'll be looking at how to create classrooms that encourage safe conversations and language that supports those conversations, as well as examining our own implicit biases, perhaps, and how we can acknowledge those as we make decisions that are in the best interest of our children, and as we create culturally responsive classrooms. So that's what the morning will look like on the 3rd and 4th. And then the afternoon on September 3rd and 4th, the teachers will be looking at the content that they'll be teaching in September, October, November, the beginning of the school year, and really planning it in terms of how you can support student learning in the different modalities that we will be teaching in. So really looking at, setting up systems where students can learn in virtual classrooms and what that looks like. So that's what Superintendent's Conference Day will be at the start of our school year. We have our administrative retreat with the administrative team on Monday. So we'll be planning the rest of the details for those days. And that's where we are right now.
Andrea, do you want to give the board just a brief update on where we are as far as the requests for the virtual only, or are we not ready to do that yet?
We can, I mean, I can give you an overall number. So we have, let me just pull up my quick report on that. So in total, we've received approximately 215 requests. And I'm looking at the distribution by our schools right now. So the Fort Montgomery Elementary School had requests for 45 students. Highland Falls Intermediate School, we had requests for 75 students. And the high school, we had requests for 56 students. And so at the high school,
How many?
56 students.
How many on a high?
56. Yep.
Thank you.
So we are, that's, you know, the principals and Dr. Sheboy and I will, and Ms. Sedera will be looking at how to configure classes that meet the needs of those students as we start to, you know, plan for bringing students back to our schools on September 8th, virtually.
What were the specific requests?
They have,
Andrea, what were?
they have requested to opt out of
Pardon?
in-person instruction. So that's
Thank
where we
you.
are. I don't know if those numbers quite add up to 215, but those are approximations at this point. We're still reaching out to families for clarification for some of the requests. So we expect to have a complete picture by early next week as we continue to engage in this planning.
Thank you.
Yep, my pleasure.
Thank you. Ms. Sedera?
Good evening, everybody. They started paving yesterday back in the tennis courts, so they'll be finishing up that this week. And we've been notified that we get to park back in the visitors lot on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, as they begin to pave the back loop and the two student lots. So that's actually starting to come along now. I'm working on finalizing the audit. So my anticipation, hopefully within maybe 3 weeks, to have an audit committee meeting, and then have Nugent and Hauser come on October 1st to present the audit to the district so that we can meet the October 15th deadline of the independent audit being submitted to New York State. So that went very well. I think I mentioned that last week. After day 4, all funds except the general fund were finalized and completed. I have not received any words on any entries for the general fund, and I should be finalizing that tomorrow with Julie. And then the only other thing that I want to touch base on now is that we have been getting a lot of information today from different organizations about the state aid cuts. Right now, we did receive our excess cost payment. That was for the 2019-20 school year, and we did have 20% withheld. So we are being told to expect 20% withheld on all aids. That includes our instructional material aid, like the textbooks, technology, hardware, software, library. So it's all going on a term by term basis. So in the scheme, if we're getting $10 million worth of aid, that means they're going to deduct $2 million worth of aid from the district. So those are going to be some conversations that we're going to have on what the board wants to, how we want to approach, you know, this issue now. So otherwise, that's really about it. I don't know if you want to say anything, Ann or Frank.
Well, I wanted to know, go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, if I could just add, I was just going to say, we have not been told if it's withheld temporarily, deferred, or not. We're not ever going to receive it. And that, again, just poses more challenges for all of us.
And the other thing that I noticed is we don't know what the amount is and to what extent it's going to affect us until we get new runs, and they haven't come out with when we're supposed to see that. So again,
Once I finish the,
it's making it so difficult for us to do our job. And there's, I believe in some of the communications that I received today, it also said that there could be mid-year. They're still not taking the mid-year cuts off the table. So again, I don't know how true all of this is, but we're getting a lot of emails from a lot of different organizations that appear to be saying the same thing. So I did ask Dr. Sheboy to set meetings up with all of our politicians, and that is what I'm going to call them today, our elected officials that I know they're going to say that a lot of their hands are tied, but at this point, I still want to meet with them. I want them to hear us. I want them to hear how this affects us, and you know what we're going to have to do. So I think it's important. They're busy, so are we, and we need to have a few minutes of their time. So I've asked Dr. Sheboy to set that up for us.
Yeah, and I'll be doing that. Thanks. And I just wanted to, we did also just one thing, Tom's not here, but we did ask for an update by the architects and construction managers at the September 3rd meeting. So we can anticipate that.
Thank you. Okay. Are there any principals on the call that would like to give any update? I know I'm not putting anybody on the spot. I'm just saying if there's anything that anybody's on the call that would like to share, feel free now.
I just wanted to say thank you for taking time to view the town hall and see what the classroom will look like. It's going to be very different, but we're very resilient, and we will make every possible way to make sure that the learning experience is 100% wonderful for our students.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
HFIS is we're going about our business and working hard in the background so we can get everything up and running for opening day. So nervous and excited, which we normally have during this time of year before a school year. So that hasn't really changed. Just everything else around us has. So there's still a lot of excitement and nerve-wracking feeling as we get closer to the opening day.
Thank you.
Things are coming along at the high school as well, as you know. Today they ripped up the circle in the front, so that was interesting to watch. But it's very exciting to see the school coming together.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Now I see the next item on the agenda is discussion on the accommodations policy. So, Dr. Sheboy, did you want to? It's under C.
No, yeah, that shouldn't really be a discussion item.
I'm sorry. Okay.
No, not you. It's going to be part of the consent agenda. This is something that the council has written for us that just provides some guidance for the district on how to manage accommodation requests under the FMLA, the FFCRA, and the ESPLA, Empire State Paid Leave Act. So that's what those are for.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we're into the consent agenda. The use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and then that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the following consent agenda as submitted by the Superintendent of Schools. And those would be action items 1 through 7.
Motion.
On number 6.
Go ahead. On number 6, are you
What
asking?
is the, on that? Yeah, full-time attendance aid.
We
Yeah,
needed
that
to
is-
change that to a civil service position, so that's why we needed to amend it.
Yes, it's competitive class, and originally it had said non-competitive.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Well, and you said consent agenda items 1 through 7, but how do we get the accommodation policy down into that? Because that's number 1.
It's on number 2. It's a number 2, adopt COVID-19 accommodations policy.
I see. I didn't pay attention.
No, that's fine. 1 through 7. Are there any other questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And I'm sorry, I just noticed that Mrs. Crowe is on the call, the meeting. And Mrs. Crowe, did you want to make any comments as the athletic director, an update or anything? I know you've been busy working with your counterparts. Can she hear us?
Debbie, you're muted.
Andrea, can you help her unmute? So, Deb, you bring the white bar up at the, okay, bring the white bar up at the bottom of the meeting. Do you see it? And press on the microphone.
Or hit Control D.
Control D. No luck?
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, okay,
You sign like
It almost worked. She went green for a second.
she did. No problem, Deb. We just wanted everybody, oh, it happened again.
It's happened again, Debbie. Try Control D just once, like keep Control down and hit D.
Oh. Okay,
It wants to work.
I don't know, it keeps flashing.
it wants to, but it won't. Okay, well, I know that from emails that I've received that Mrs. Crowe and Dr. Sheboy have been having discussions on athletics. The one thing that we keep on reminding the community, and that Mrs. Crowe reminded all her coaches, is that, let me get this right. New York State Public School Athletics has the date that they're still going with is September 21st. There is no approved August 24th. All sports are on pause until 21 September. You cannot have workouts or anything like that starting August 24th. I know there was some things that came out about that, but we are following the rules to a T, and they'll make decisions when it get closer, but for now, the date is 9/21. So thank you, Mrs. Crowe, for keeping us up to date on that. Okay. And now is our, unless anybody has anything else, does anyone have any other comments, questions? Okay. See everybody shaking their head.
Hey,
So,
Ann, this is Cecil, Kurt Martin. And do you have me?
yes, I do.
And okay, hey, I'm sorry, I missed it at the very beginning. They said they needed something from West Point. I think I was from Ned, maybe. I just want to make sure I'm tracking specifically what the
Sure.
request
There
was.
appears to be a tree down on the entrance to the high school, but it's before the entrance to Morgan's Farm. It's on West Point property, so we're not allowed to touch it. So could you ask DPE at their earliest convenience to take a look at it and see if they could cut that down, especially before school starts?
Yep, absolutely. I've got that one. That was easy. Thank you. That's what I want to make sure I was tracking.
It's on the right-hand side as you go up the drive near the top.
Thank you. Yep, thank you. Okay. Um,
No,
Okay,
got it.
the-
Thanks, Ned.
Thank you. Be it resolved that the Board of Education recesses into executive session for the purpose of discussing the employment history of a particular individual, to discuss collective negotiations under the Taylor Law with the Town of Highlands Teachers Association, and to discuss pending litigation in the matter of Nikolai versus Highland Falls Fort Montgomery Central School District. The board will not be returning to open session to take action. May I please get a motion?
So moved.
Motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion
Aye.
carries. So thank you, everyone, for attending tonight, and stay safe and stay well.